So let's talk about something that I developed initially for hostage negotiation teams and our people at the FBI. So I invented a de-escalation technique that requires knowledge of the 6MX. So I wanted to make something that was a lot more scientific based, that wasn't just something that we say a few sentences to somebody and make them feel better, or there's some basic negotiation tactics that are just elementary at best. I wanted something that worked a lot and sounded conversational. It sounded real. And that's what this is. This de-escalation technique is something you can use in just about any conversation you ever have, and the person doesn't actually realize that they're being de-escalated in the process. So let's discuss what's going on in the brain during somebody being aggravated or in some kind of a strong opposition to what's being said or discussed in a conversation. If we are emotional, that means that our brains are lit up in the animal part, this primal part, the lower part of our brain. And to de-escalate somebody, we need to pull them out of that mode. We've got to pull them out of that before we can even hope to influence a person. Because this language that we're using and the things that we're saying don't really resonate with the animal part of our brain, because it doesn't even speak languages anyway. So we need to get the attention of the neocortex, the top part of our brain, to start the de-escalation process. And that's what we're going to do here. So we have a couple of phases here. In the reorient phase, we're basically starting to pull them out of the animal brain mindset. In the validate phase, we're making them go through repetitive steps of them internally saying the words, "That's right." Agreement. We're basically making them agree over and over. In the observation phase, we're giving them a chemical injection based on what their needs are. And in the action phase, so I've been writing phrase 7 for a long time here. In the action part, we are going to do something called avoidance of reactance, which I'll explain here in just a little bit. And we're going to suggest an action, suggest that they do something that we'd like them to do. So the reorient has two parts. All we're doing is saying the sensory word and their name. So if the guy's name is Brian and they're visual, I'm going to say, "Brian, look." That's it. If it's a female, her name is Jessica and she's auditory, I'm going to say, "Jessica, listen." Just those two words, the name, the sensory word. That's it. That's the only part we're really doing here. So we're starting to break through the barrier here between this red area and the blue area. In the validate, we're going to make sure they understand that their feelings of being upset or angry or doubtful are completely justified, and that anybody would feel the same. Anybody would feel the same way. And after that, so this also has two parts. We're going to justify what their feelings are, and then we're going to say 3 things that are absolutely true. So from the beginning, it might sound like, "Bill, listen, anybody would be just as pissed off as you. I certainly would be. I don't know if I'd be able to control myself as much as you are. But you know what? It's Thursday evening. It's supposed to rain a little bit later, and we're about to get off work." And that's what that would sound like. So that's the validation and the first phase. So this is both phases here. And then we're going to add on an observation. And in this phase, we've established a long chain of agreement. The person's name gets the attention. The sensory word gets the attention. We justify how they're feeling. That gets their attention. Now they start agreeing with us. We may compliment them on how well they're handling it, depending on the situation. Then we say 3 things that are true. So we're getting agreement, 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 agreement over and over again. And this is just in the course of a few sentences. And then we make 2 quick compliments on what their needs are. So we make an observation. If the person is acceptance and intelligence, we're going to say, listen, I know everybody here really, really likes you, and you really keep everybody here together, and you're smarter than most of the people I have to talk to. And that's what that would sound like. So from the beginning, we would say, Jessica, listen, anybody who went through that would be equally upset or equally confused about this. And I certainly would be if it was me. But you know what? It's Monday morning. We've just started work here, and we've only got a few hours left before everybody goes on lunch break. And I obviously know everybody here really likes you. Everyone looks up to you. And you're a lot smarter than a lot of people I talk to most of the time. So that's how that would sound so far. Pretty quick, just a few sentences. So this slide, I think, is in your handouts. If it's not, I'll get it to you after this. No big deal. This slide illustrates just a couple of examples of complements on the needs. And that will just show you that we are able to compliment someone on their needs at any time during the conversation, but we typically only want to do it when we either A, need compliance, or B, the person has demonstrated compliance and we're offering a reward. But this is an exception that we're trying to level down a person's emotional state in a situation. So we're going to observe the needs. And then we want to avoid reactance. Anytime a human being feels like their sense of freedom of choice is being threatened in any way, they will react the opposite way. And that's kind of what reactance is. We've all seen the Facebook pictures and the pictures on social media that say, don't touch this sign. And then people have pictures of themselves touching it. Or it says, keep off grass. And they'll take a picture of themselves standing on the grass. Or how about this example? If there were a bar in New York, a big bar, and they had a men's room near the front, and they had another men's room near the back of the bar. And in one of them, in the men's room in the front, they had a sign on the bathroom mirror that said, please don't write on the walls in this bathroom. Thank you so much, management. And on the back room, the back restroom, on the mirror, they had pretty much the same sign there, except the words were, don't you ever write on these walls for any effing reason, ever. Management. Just imagine what that back restroom would look like. Anybody with a Sharpie in their pocket is going to do some reactance in there. So our brains are hardwired to react to this, to prove to us that our sense of freedom is still intact and is still present. So we need to avoid this, especially in a emotionally charged situation. We have to avoid reactance. And the way that we do that is to reassure the person that they have complete control on what they want to do, and that we don't have any control over what they do or what they choose to do. And in the action phase, then we're just going to make a small suggestion that they do something. So the example I have coming up here is for police, but it's an extreme example. So that's why I've kept it in this training, that you could read through this. And I'd like, if you're a police officer, how would you use this technique here to de-escalate the situation? So just to kind of recap, we're going to reorient, use the name and sensory word. Then we're going to validate. We're going to tell them their feelings are completely justified. Then we're going to say 3 things that are absolutely true. In the observe phase, we're just saying a compliment on one or both of their needs that we've been able to identify. And in the action phase, we're going to remind them, I'm not in control of you. You've obviously got full control here. And then we're going to make a suggestion. But I'd like it if we could just blank, X, Y, Z. So here's the scenario. It's Thursday evening. You respond to a domestic violence call. You encounter a man named David, and he doesn't want to come out of his house to talk to you. And you hear him use the phrase, I don't see any reason for all this. And immediately, hopefully, all of you identified that as a visual person, because he says, I don't see the reason for all this. So in 5-10 seconds, we've identified this person as a visual thinker. All right. He's also wearing a shirt that shows that he volunteered here in this town, wherever we're working, at a children's basketball camp. And in this moment, we notice that's a significance needs. He's helping kids at a camp. He's wearing the shirt to show it. And he is an intelligence need because he's referring to the people he doesn't like as idiots. So this is the first 60 seconds, a minute and a half of the conversation. So how would we use this technique to de-escalate this person? In this scenario, we would tie in his sensory preference just with the one word. We tie in the complements on both of those needs. We reassure him. We make a suggestion, and it might look something like this. So we'd say, look, David, I'd be really angry too if that happened to me, and you've got every right to be upset. It's Thursday evening. We're both here outside talking about this, and I know these people here respect you a whole lot, and you're obviously a lot more intelligent than the idiots I have to deal with most of the time. And you have all the choice here as to how you're going to act and what you decide to do, but I hope you can just make this easy. It's not a big deal at all. We can just step out here and have a quick conversation. So that's what we're doing. We're pulling electricity from the animal part of the brain to the human part of the brain, the neocortex. And that's what that entire system was designed to do. And that's the de-escalation process.